So I'm going to spend a little bit of time sharing with you some of the problems associated with Ramadan as far as our health is concerned and how Unicity can help with those problems. I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. First of all, happy Ramadan, everyone. As I said, there's many wonderful things associated with Ramadan. The idea of spiritual fasting to strengthen ourselves spiritually is a really powerful thing. It's something that I believe strongly in as well. But it's a very challenging season because you stay up late and you get up early. I remember when I was in Southeast Asia the last time, the sun came up at like 4:30 in the morning, super early. And if I had to get up before the sun to have breakfast, I don't know if I would want to have breakfast. But people get up to have breakfast and they stay up late. And what that causes is a lack of sleep. And there's a lot of problems associated with lack of sleep. Lack of sleep is, in general, very bad for our health. But one of the things that it does is it increases cortisol levels, which tends to lead to increased fat storage. It also leads to increased inflammation and a weakened immune system. So right now, we're all very aware of our immune system and the need to have a strong immune system. And we're going through something that's causing us to weaken our immune system, both through having different kinds of nutrition, less nutritious foods sometimes, and not sleeping as much. We also have challenges with productivity at work. It's hard enough to get through a day at work when you have full sleep and full nutrition. Now we're trying to go to work and get everything done that we always have been getting done, except now we don't have the fuel to get through the day, and we haven't slept very well in the night. It's also very challenging to stay motivated in general. So without sleep, without nutrition, it's really difficult to go to the gym. Going to the gym is hard enough, but getting the exercise that you need, just staying motivated to do those day-to-day tasks. It doesn't even have to be the gym. It could be playing with your kids when you get home from work. How do you find the motivation to do that? So this is one of those places where Unicity can really help. And of course, I'm talking about Unimate. Unimate is Unicity's brain health genomeceutical powerhouse product. And really what Unimate is, to me, it's liquid motivation. It's something that I use to help myself do those things that I need to do, really feel like I can achieve almost anything when I'm taking my Unimate. So what is Unimate? Unimate, one of the key ingredients in Unimate is yerba mate, and it's a yerba mate extract. Yerba mate is a traditional beverage that's been consumed in South America for hundreds of years. They drink it socially, and it does give a bit of a mental boost, but it's just one of those things that is a social, traditional practice in South America. So we started to look into what is it about yerba mate that makes it special? Why do people keep drinking it? Hundreds of years this tradition has existed. It must be a tradition for a reason. So we started to look into what yerba mate is and what it does. And we designed a process to get the best out of yerba mate to start making Unimate. So we go through a 5-step process. I'm going to go through this very quickly because we don't have a lot of time. But the key steps in here, we have to break down some of the pieces of the plant that block us being able to extract out the important nutrients. So we do a fire roasting step. Then we do this extraction to pull out important biologically active molecules that we know our body needs and we know have specific functions in our body. Then we concentrate those molecules down, and finally we purify them to get a very unique yerba mate extract that's really enriched and empowered with biologically active molecules like chlorogenic acid. And what that ends up giving us is a product that is a true mental health product. It is a productivity product. It is a motivation product. It's a product that we've actually shown clinically improves happiness. Now, if you were thinking about that exercise picture, another thing about Unimate that we've discovered is that Unimate actually increases your performance athletically. So if you are taking Unimate, it actually protects your muscle cells from being damaged by the exercise that we're doing. So it prevents oxidative damage. That combined with the mental aspects of Unimate leads to a significant improvement in both aerobic and resistance training in athletes. So Unimate is very, very powerful. The exercise bit, that's one little piece that I'm super interested in because, as Sam mentioned, I'm into athletics. I've used Unimate in my training, but as far as Ramadan is concerned, it's just going to give you that motivation that you need to stay healthy, to maybe get a little bit of exercise in during the day. It's going to give you that motivation that you need to have the energy to play with your kids when you get home. It's going to make you feel a little bit better so you can get through the day a little bit easier. Now, I'm going to talk about another aspect of sleep. And I mentioned before that when you're not getting enough sleep, you are actually weakening your body. You're weakening your immune system. This is something that's really critical, especially right now. You don't want to have a weak immune system. You want to be able to combat any potential pathogen that comes your way. And this chart right here, it shows that there's a significant reduction in incidence of catching a cold when you sleep more, if you get sufficient sleep, not just extra sleep, but at least 7 hours of sleep. Now, because we have challenges getting as much sleep as we need to do everything that we can to boost our immune system, to make our immune system as strong as it can possibly be. One of these products that Unicity has that helps power up our immune system is our Hawaiian Noni product. Our Hawaiian Noni product, it's kind of a complete product because it's not just a simple immune booster. It has prebiotic fiber, a significant amount of prebiotic fiber, so that it actually can support your microbiome. It can help you become more healthy from a microbiome standpoint. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later. Hawaiian Noni has a significant amount of prebiotic fiber. It also has powerful botanical ingredients. Hawaiian Noni is well known as an immune support fruit. It's well known to have small molecules in it that help support our immune system. It has significant amount of antioxidants. The other fruit on here is called sea buckthorn, which is another one that's really high in vitamin C and really high in antioxidants. And the combination helps support our immune system. Another aspect of Hawaiian Noni that's very important is that it contains zinc. Zinc is basically the mineral that everybody associates with immune health. Zinc is absolutely critical to our immune function. Zinc deficiency actually leads to people getting sick over and over and over and over again. So we need to have the right amount of zinc in order to have a healthy immune system. The last ingredient that I'm going to talk about is the allopolysaccharides. There's allopolysaccharides in Hawaiian Noni, and these polysaccharides are known to stimulate the immune system. They actually modulate the immune system. They do a little bit of changing the types of cells that are created, particularly our white blood cells, which are part of our innate immune system. But they help keep our immune system strong and ready to fight off any sort of pathogen. So Hawaiian Noni is a very powerful immune health product. It's a product that we need to be thinking about right now more than ever during Ramadan, because we know we have challenges for our immune system, and we know that we're probably not going to be getting enough sleep. Now, I want to continue on with immune health for a little while. I want to focus a little bit more on gut health and immune health, because your immune system, 70 to 80% of your immune system, of the different cells that make up our immune system, are located in our gut. Our gut is absolutely critical. Our microbiome is absolutely critical to our immune system, not just our immune system, but to many, many aspects of human health. So if you look at the different effects that microbiome has on your body, there's things ranging from mental health like depression and autism to things like asthma and cardiovascular disease, irritable bowel disease. Huge array of effects that the microbiome has on our health. So it's critical that we make sure that we try to maintain a healthy microbiome. To give you an idea of the scale of our microbiome, if you take 1,000 people and you look at the total number of genes that those thousands, different genes, not just all the genes together, but the number of different genes that the bacteria in their bodies are expressing, there's about 10 million different genes that the bacteria within our bodies are expressing. Now, the human genome contains about 20 to 25,000 genes. Compare 20 to 25,000 genes to 10 million genes. These genes are actively being expressed. they're creating molecules. They're significantly impacting our health with the types of proteins and molecules and interactions that they're creating. So we really need to think about our microbiome when we're thinking about not just our immune health, but our overall metabolic health. Now, specifically immune health, there's lots of different ways that the microbiome affects our immune health. One of the easiest things to think about is that microbes try to protect their territory. If you have healthy microbes in your gut and you introduce a pathogen, they're going to do their best to kill off that pathogen because they don't want that pathogen messing around with their space. So here's a story about that. The first time I went to Thailand, I had just had surgery on my shoulder and I had just had a whole bunch of antibiotics. So my microbiome was trashed. I basically didn't have a very strong microbiome of any sort. I had a very deficient microbiome because the antibiotics had wiped out most of the bacteria. I ate a food that was contaminated with a bacterial pathogen. And I was very, very, very sick for probably 10 to 15 days afterwards. If I had had a strong, functional microbiome, I likely would have been able to stay healthy because my own bacteria that are living in my gut would have fought off those pathogenic bacteria. So that's one key effect. There's also an effect from the bacteria. Bacteria live in an ecosystem. One bacteria eats some of the food that we eat, breaks down some fiber, for example, and it breaks it down into smaller pieces. Those smaller pieces are then eaten by different bacteria. And then those smaller pieces can be eaten by different bacteria. So having healthy bacteria that can start that chain is critical because you're feeding a whole array of healthy bacteria just by a prebiotic effect from one bacteria eating the digested pieces that the other bacteria left from their food. One of the most important things is barrier function. Our gut, so I was listening to a presentation that Dr. Lucas Grant gave about our gut. And this was something that I had never really thought about before. But if you think about your gut as one long tube that extends all through your body, it's basically external to your body. It's outside your body in a sense, even though it's inside you, because it's a tube that goes from one opening to another. And because it's open, it's an open tube, it has all sorts of different challenges as far as pathogens go. And it's absolutely critical that that tube stays intact. If we start to have breaks in that tube, then things that aren't supposed to leak into our system can leak into our system. Just like if we have a cut in our skin, we can have different bacteria and different infections get into our skin. So one thing that healthy bacteria do is they excrete small molecules that our surface of our intestine can actually use as an energy source. And those small molecules help heal the potential cracks in between the different cells that make up the lining of our gut. And so that protects us, that keeps that barrier intact so that we are no longer exposed to whatever gets into our gut. It's not able to leak through into our system. One of the last things is that our microbiome can actually sort of train our immune system. Depending on the type of microbiome that we have, we can either have an immune system that is more pro-inflammatory, an immune system that is overreactive, that leads to things like allergies, food allergies, things like that, asthma, an immune system that if you catch a cold, you end up coughing for weeks and weeks and weeks afterwards because you have a pro-inflammatory immune system. Or you can have an immune system that's not inflammatory. There's different types of T cells, for example, T1 and T2 cells. Depending on the type of T cells you have, you're going to have more or less inflammation. You need a certain amount of inflammation, but you want to be able to control that. You don't want to have too much inflammation. And that's why having a well-trained and modulated immune system is absolutely critical. Having a healthy microbiome can help modulate your immune system so that it is a healthier immune system. So again, microbiome is absolutely critical to supporting our healthy immune system. Now, the good news for us is that our microbiome is entirely in our hands. If we make a change in our diet, it takes about 3 to 4 days for the very beginning of the changes in our microbiome to start taking effect. Within 90 days to 6 months, we can have a completely different microbiome if we're consistent with the changes that we've made in our diet. Now, one great way to jumpstart change in our microbiome, or to make sure that our microbiome is staying healthy, Bio 7, remember I said that when you eat different foods, your microbiome can change? Bio 7 is the optimal food for growing a healthy microbiome. Now, there's a lot of different foods that are healthy for your microbiome. Fiber in general is healthy for our microbiome. Getting a blend of healthy fibers, like what you would find in Bio 7, is challenging. You can't really do it from eating one food. You need to eat a wide variety of different foods to get the same array of healthy prebiotic fibers that you get in Bio 7. Some of the critical healthy prebiotic fibers are fruit pectins, citrus and apple pectin, inulin, and guar gum. These are important prebiotic fibers that healthy bacteria can break down, utilize for food, and help those healthy bacteria grow. And also helps those healthy bacteria be fed so that they can excrete those small molecules that are important to our gut health. Another piece of Bio 7 that's pretty unique to Bio 7 is we're not just limiting it to prebiotic fibers. If you look up prebiotic on the internet, if you Google prebiotic, you're going to find pretty much fiber. That's what people think of when they think of prebiotic. But another key piece of feeding healthy bacteria is specific molecules called polyphenol glycosides. It's basically an antioxidant molecule that's attached to sugar. There's specific types of bacteria that can utilize these molecules and snip off the sugar molecule, use that sugar molecule for fuel. It's a whole different class of bacteria than the bacteria that break down fiber, but they're also very healthy, and we need to build up those types of bacteria in our gut. One of the reasons why having a healthy diet full of fruits and vegetables is important is because these molecules feed the bacteria in our gut, not just fiber. Healthy antioxidants with sugars attached to them that your body can't break down, but the microbiome in your gut can break down. That helps it grow and helps it become stronger. And also, it releases those antioxidants into our guts where they're needed to help prevent inflammation. Another unique ingredient that's a part of Bio 7 is a unique yeast fermentate. This is actually a really cool ingredient because if you think about yeast, one of the key pieces of yeast that is very healthy that we think about a lot with yeast are beta glucans. Now, if you know about our products like Immunizin, for example, Immunizin contains beta glucans because beta glucans are critical for immune health. And interestingly, this ingredient on its own clinically has shown to boost immune health significantly, to support healthy immune system. So just this one ingredient is feeding our immune system. But that really isn't even why we put it in this product. We put it in the product because it has multiple different types of compounds, different partially fermented fibers, different partially fermented polyphenols, that whole other classes of bacteria use as food. That's why when we talk about Bio 7, we see huge increases in microbial diversity, which is really one of the best measures of overall microbiome health, is how diverse it is. We know that when we take Bio 7, it's a 57-fold increase in microbial diversity in our microbiome. So huge increase in microbial diversity. Completely changes your microbiome over the course of 60 to 90 days, maybe a little bit longer. And because you have that change in microbiome, you have a drastic change overall in your metabolic health. And that healthy microbiome supports healthy immune system and just general overall health. Now, I'm going to talk about another piece of Ramadan that people struggle with, and that's the type of food that tends to get eaten during Ramadan. Ramadan is obviously it's a period of fasting, but it's also a period of celebration. During I guess most places in the Middle East call it iftar, but during the breakfast, when you break your fast, the foods that tend to be eaten tend to be very high in fats, very high in carbohydrates. You're getting a huge amount of energy in one sitting from all of these foods. And it's not so good for our bodies to do this. Now, if you look at what you have in the morning, the sahur, it tends to be, again, significant amounts of carbohydrates. The problem with these foods particularly in the context of a long fast. I'm going to back up for just a second here. If I'm skipping a meal and I'm not used to skipping a meal, when I eat the next meal, my body responds by having a sharper spike in insulin than it would otherwise have. So now if I've skipped meals and I'm not used to skipping meals, when I go to have my breakfast, my nighttime meal, then I'm getting a very dramatic spike in insulin. I'm getting a larger blood sugar spike than I would normally have. Now, and then when I have for breakfast that high carb meal again, I'm getting another dramatic blood sugar spike. I'm getting another dramatic insulin spike. And what we eat makes a dramatic difference to our body. This graph shows what happens to our bodies when we eat basically just sugar. This is Coca-Cola, which is basically sugar. You get a really big spike in blood sugar, and then it actually comes down to where your blood sugar is very low. It's lower than it was before you ate. At this point in time, you're feeling really, really, really hungry. You feel like you really want to eat until it finally comes back up and then normalizes. Now, depending on what I'm eating, if I'm eating whole oats, there's fiber in whole oats. And I know that fiber has a dramatic impact on how my body deals with blood sugar or deals with sugar. So now I get a much broader peak that doesn't dip below the baseline anymore. So this is kind of like in the US right now with coronavirus, we keep talking about flattening the curve. You have about the same amount of blood sugar that enters your blood there, but it takes a lot longer to do that. And it's important in this case because in this case, when we flatten the curve, we change our body's insulin response. We have dramatically less insulin. Now, if we're eating something where we have some carbs mixed with fiber and protein, like with kidney beans, then we get a much smaller peak that takes a much longer time to go back to baseline. That means that we're feeling full for a lot longer. We don't have a huge insulin spike. Our blood sugar is not going all over the place like crazy. So combining fiber with my carbs has made a huge difference, especially fiber and protein with my carbs. Now, if I have just pure protein and fat, canned salmon, which is a fatty fish, I see that my body takes a little bit of time to realize that it's eaten, but after that 30 minutes, I start to come up slowly in blood sugar, and then it tapers off over the course of many hours. So I'm not hungry for a long time. That's critical when you're fasting because you don't want to be hungry 30 minutes after you've eaten your breakfast, your morning meal. Now, I want to reiterate the importance of fiber here because we saw what happens with pure sugar and then with whole grain oat. That's basically going from sugar to sugar mixed with fiber because the carbohydrates in oats, there's starches that are broken down quickly into sugar, and then there's starches that are resistant to being broken down. That's the fiber. That blend is what slows down the digestion. This graph right here shows what happens when you eat an orange versus drinking orange juice. That's an even more dramatic representation of a little bit of fiber compared to no fiber and sugar. There's a little bit of a response as far as our blood sugar level goes. You can see with just the plain orange juice, because there's no fiber in that, the peak is a little bit higher. It also drops a little bit lower and takes longer to go back to baseline. But then there's an even bigger response in insulin. That small amount of fiber that's in an orange versus orange juice dramatically changes the way our body responds as far as insulin goes. And this is critical as far as maintaining proper metabolic health. We want our insulin levels to be not necessarily low, but we want them to be controlled. We don't want large spikes in our insulin level. Here again, Bio7 is a great product to be taking. It's going to build up your microbiome, which is critical. That's important because we know that affects our overall metabolic health and our immune health. And the fibers that are in microbiome or that are in Bio7 can help blunt the impact of the sugars that we're eating. Now, I want to put in a little plug for BioSlife S and BioSlife C, because these products are really the metabolic health insurance products. These are the ones that the fiber matrix is specifically designed to blunt the impact of carbohydrates. So these are less about microbiome and more about taking it before my meal and blunting that impact. So these are products that we should really be thinking about as well. So if I take either BIOS 7, BIOS Life S, or BIOS Life C before both my nighttime meal and my morning meal, I'm going to have a dramatic impact on my health because I'm changing the way that my body is digesting that food. And that makes a huge difference in long-term health. It also makes a big difference as far as satiety goes. So I'm not going to need to eat quite as much, and I'm not going to feel hungry as fast. Those are all benefits that can help you during the Ramadan season. Another product that is, this is a newer product that I didn't get to talk about last time during Ramadan, and I'm really excited to be able to talk about it now because LC base is basically the optimal fuel. If you remember, I talked about what happens when you mix protein and fat. This is in a person that is pretty much carb adapted. They're not a person that's metabolically flexible. They're not a person that is adapted to burning fat very well, but they're still having a significantly different response in their body. And they're staying full for much, much longer because they've eaten fat and protein instead of eating carbohydrates. So if you can, first thing in the morning, I guess you could get up and prepare a big meal, or you could get up and have your LC base. And that's good. That's good for the day. You don't need to worry about it. That makes life a lot easier because you don't have to get up extra early to prepare your meal. We talk a lot about LC base, and I love LC base because it helps build metabolic flexibility. It helps if I use LC base on a continual basis, especially if I start to take carbs out of my diet, then I'm teaching my body how to better burn fat. And then I don't feel hungry for a long period of time because my body can actually live off my own fat stores. So if I'm fasting, which way more frequently than I would like of late, I spend time busy without thinking about it, and I don't eat all day long, but I don't feel hungry because I've been having LC base all the time. I've been having other products that help build metabolic flexibility that make it to where if I'm not eating, my body's not crying out for food because my body can live off of the stored fat within my body. So another product that can really make sure that you're getting the nutrients that you need. You're not just feeding yourself. You're not just overeating. You're getting nutrients that your body needs by using Daily Produce 24. There you have a mix of high quality vegetables and fruits that contain small molecules called phytonutrients that are critical to our health. So we use these products to make sure we're getting the phytonutrients that we need so that when I'm having my feasting at night, yeah, I'm going to be able to eat what I want a little bit, but I'm going to get, at least I know I'm going to get what I need if I take my DP24. Last product that I'm going to talk about is Spirulina. And this is actually fast becoming one of my favorite products because Spirulina, the key ingredient is called spirulina. It's an algae that grows in fresh water. And it's a green algae that uses sunlight for energy. Spirulina is basically one of the world's most nutrient-dense foods. It's considered by many nutritionists to be the perfect food. Spirulina is. We know that Spirulina is high in protein. Studies have shown that the key ingredient, spirulina, actually can promote muscle growth, increase strength because of the high amount of protein in it, and also other nutrients. It's a full array of nutrients that our body needs. Another key piece of Spirulina is that it contains important antioxidants that can relieve oxidative stress. Our body is under a huge amount of stress when we're not sleeping and when we're fasting. So in order to blunt some of that stress, Spirulina is a great product to be taking. It's basically a superfood. There's been a lot of quote unquote superfoods, foods that people say are some of the healthiest foods in the world. for a while, people said blueberry or breadfruit or many different kinds of fruits and vegetables. Spirulina is one that really deserves that reputation because it has so many nutrients. It basically is a food that you could eat and you would get all the protein that you need. You would get all of the minerals that you need, all the vitamins, not all the minerals, but many of the vitamins and minerals that you would need. And you're going to make sure that you're functioning metabolically at a high level. One last thing about chlorospirulina is that it actually can help with support our immune system. White blood cells are part of our innate immune system. They're basically our first line of defense. And chlorospirulina can increase white blood cell count, makes our body more ready to fight off infection if we need to. No matter what we're trying to do, whether it's during Ramadan or not during Ramadan, whether there's crazy global pandemics or whether it's more business as usual, we try to be healthy. That's always our goal, is to be healthy. But it's not easy to get all the nutrients that we need. It's not easy to get everything perfect every time. It's not easy to get all the exercise that we need. Our bodies, they need help. Our lifestyle is not perfect. And Unicity products are what bridges the gap between where we are and where we want to be. We have the opportunity to really change the world. We do. That's why I love Unicity. These products can help you have a more healthy life. They can help your friends and your family have a more healthy life. And because of that, you can spread these products all around the world. You can really, truly impact the health of the world. Thank you very much for listening. Appreciate your time.